Hi everyone and welcome back to this tutorial. Today we're going to knit the sleeves. Now let's have a look at the chart to know how to start and how wide and how long this should be. So we're going to start with the border and then we're going to increase. Don't forget that you see only the half of your sleeve, so you got to double all the numbers. Now you can see two different numbers at the bottom of our border, 10 and 11.5. And because this is the half of your sleeve, we got to double this number. So we need 20 centimeters for our border. And I use my older swatch to calculate the number of stitches that I need for my 20 centimeters. So in that case, you divide 16 by 8 and you multiply that by 20 and you receive the number 40 stitches, and it should be an uneven number plus 2, so you get 43 stitches for your sleeve. So let's cast on 43 stitches. So here we are, these are our 43 stitches, and now we're going to knit the border pattern the same way as we did for the front and back part. Knit the first stitch. This will be a selvage stitch later. So later on we will be taking off this stitch at the very beginning. And the border pattern will be knit 1 and purl 1 and alternate all the time between knit 1 and purl 1. Knit always the very last stitch and then turn your work. So this will be the right side and the second row. Bring the yarn to the front. From now on, always take off the first stitch and then knit all the stitches across the row. Knit always the very last stitch and turn your work. Now again the wrong side, take off the very first stitch. And we knit the pattern again, knit 1 and purl 1, and alternate all the time between knit 1 and purl 1. So we alternate between these two rows, the wrong side and the right side, all the time until you've got a height of 4.5 centimeters. Also here, take notes on how many rows you knit to do exactly the same sleeve one more time. And this is how it looks like so far. So these are 13 rows at all. Now we're going to knit the stockinette stitch. So you know already the stockinette stitch, the right side will be knit stitch only and the wrong side purl stitches. So we're going to do 2 rows of stockinette and you take off the first stitch as always. And then you're going to knit all the stitches across the row. And on the wrong side, take off the very first stitch and purl all the stitches across the row. Don't forget to knit the very last stitch. This will be an increasing row, and in an increasing row we're going to increase once at the beginning and once at the end of the row. You can use any increasing method you like. I'm going to show you the KFB knit front and back loop method. So at the beginning, take off the very first stitch. And for the increase, I'm going to knit the next stitch twice. So I'm going to knit through the front and later through the back loop to get 2 stitches out of 1. So you knit the very first stitch, but don't take off, keep the stitch like it is. And then you're inserting your needle one more time and knitting through the back loop. And then you take off the stitch. And this way we made 2 stitches out of 1. Then knit all the stitches across the row until you have 2 stitches left. So we've got 2 stitches left, and now we're going to increase the next stitch. You knit through the front and also through the back loop, the same way as before. And then you can take off the stitch and you knit the very last stitch. So, and that's our increasing row, once at the beginning and once at the end of the row. We've got 2 stitches more in a row. And now we're going to knit 5 more rows of the stockinette stitch. So the pattern will be the same. You turn your work, you take off the very first stitch, and then you purl all the stitches across the row. So we're going to alternate all the time between the knit stitch row and the purl row to get the stockinette stitch. And we're going to increase twice in every 6th row. So you knit 5 rows and you increase twice in every 6th row. So now we are knitting 5 rows of stockinette stitch, and then again an increasing row in the 6th row, and then again 5 rows stockinette stitch and increase in the 6th stitch, and so on. And we're gonna knit this for additional 42 centimeters. So at the end we would have an overall length of 46.5 centimeters for the whole sleeve. And then we'll meet again. And that's my sleeve so far. I set also here markers to calculate my stitch number after the border. And these are 107 rows. Now we're going to cast off the sleeve the same way as I showed you before, for the front and back part the same way. Make sure to have a very loose tension. So I'm going to take off the very first stitch, knit the 2nd stitch, and then pull the previous stitch over the knitted stitch. Knit 1 stitch and pull over. So you're going to knit the 2nd sleeve the same way. You don't have to mirror any patterns, so it's symmetrical. So the 2nd sleeve is going to be the same. And in the next video, we can sew the sweater. So happy knitting, and until next time, bye bye.